So one thing that I think about a lot is I think about how we learn. And sometimes that means how we disagree. And I was discussing with Austin earlier controversial speakers. And I was telling a group with which I was meeting last week that frankly I don't fear that at Pepperdine. As long as there's balance, which is really important to me, then I don't mind controversial speakers because I trust that our people are the sorts of people who will disagree without being disagreeable, who will engage in steel sharpening steel, which I really like. And I like the phrase, as most of you know, convicted civility. I like the idea that we can have strong convictions and we can still be civil in the process of discussing them. I think that's terribly important, particularly to faith-based institution. But I have to ask you candidly, how do you experience that? How do we mix with ideas that are different from our own and then emerge stronger from them?
One thing I've appreciated about Pepperdine that I think helps us as an institution is our sense of mission. I think that helps with convicted civility because you still have sort of a common ground, really. And I was very surprised when I came here how close the professors were with the students, how they really wanted to get to know them as people, and how that was encouraged by the university through mentor programs or other ways. And I feel like that also, when you have a personal relationship with someone, that helps you to discuss things a little more easily. So I guess I would say those two things have helped me here.
I think it starts with community. Honestly, I think that I look at all of my closest friends now, I would say at least 75 to 80% of them don't agree with me on a lot of political topics or those kind of contentious issues, and that's never been a problem, but it kind of exposes both of us to either question what is it that we are feeling and maybe almost feel uncomfortable in what our beliefs are so that we can understand and kind of either strengthen them or become a little more understanding of the other side.
Do you ever find yourself, David, being brought in to mediate a dispute between disparate voices and forces? And I mean, how do you encourage people to disagree usefully?
I think there's a misconception that a person that's responsible for leading this work of diversity and inclusion is trying to limit a particular group's speech and give voice to another. I'm just trying to create equitable spaces for everyone to feel free to engage in discourse and dialogue. I think on our campus, my job is to help people become comfortable with the uncomfortable. But I think another thing that's important for us to grapple with is who determines what's civil. Because a lot of times there are predetermined notions of what civil looks like for particular groups of people. And therefore, some people feel like they're not heard because they are deemed as being uncivil.
I think that is a great point. And I read an article the other day that sort of challenged that notion. From my perspective, growing with the Midwest, middle-class family, white, to disagree was very kind of low-key and plain. But I think there are other families where it is more vigorous. And that's not less valid. It's just different. And so I think we have to be careful that as we determine what is civil and what is useful, that we can't strip out, the emotion and the, the significance that the conversation may have for any one of us.
I remember at one of Pepperdine's table talks about a year or so ago, Dr. Davenport made a statement that has stuck with me. He said, when people feel like they're not being heard, they begin to shout. And I thought that's so powerful that if we don't allow space for conversation, it can lead to people taking the microphone and demanding an audience. And I thought that was a really just wise and deep statement that he made.
In all things, I'd like to think that people have compassion for other viewpoints. That even if you disagree vehemently, at least assume good faith and have compassion for other viewpoints. How would you lead toward that, Dusty?
I love what's happening here tonight. I think the breaking of bread has spiritual implications, but it's also a community building tool. When you break bread with someone, when you share a meal with them, it creates a space for conversation. And I think that is critical to all of these discussions is conversation. And from my perspective, I think the way you do that is you try to craft experiences that draw people together and allow them to enter into dialogue. And nothing does that better than a meal.